Forget it.
That's how you make an impression.
Now the latest ITV news. It's Wales at 6 with Andrea Byrne.
On tonight's Wales at 6, a vigil to honour 5-year-old Logan Mwangi as his mum, stepdad and a teenage boy are convicted of his murder.
He's forever in our hearts, everybody in the community, you know. Gorgeous little boy, and he's forever going to be playing here in these fields.
Also tonight, Save Our Green Space. The row over plans for a waterworks on 100 acres in the Brecon Beacons.
Plus, it's a big night for Wales. I'll be pitchside as they take on France in their 4th game of the Women's Six Nations.
And flying high, Ruth is celebrating 200 years of the Coast Guard. Hello, good evening to you. It's a small and close community that for the past 9 months has been rocked by the brutal murder of one of its own. But the people of Sarn have shown their strength and unity once again, gathering to pay their respects to 5-year-old Logan Mwangi, callously killed by his mother, stepfather and a 14-year-old boy in July of last year. It's a tragedy which will never be forgotten, but for many, justice for little Logan is at last in sight. Hamish Alskery reports.
As the sun set on a trial full of darkness, Sarn came together last night to pay tribute to Logan Mwangi. Some knew him personally in life, others came to know him only in tragic death. But Logan's memory burns bright in Bridgend.
I feel that Logan needed our respect and his blessings. The little boy, he just went through so much pain before he died. It's affected the whole community. Look at everybody. Poor little Logan. Another little child had died. It's got to stop, hasn't it?
Verdicts delivered, the awful truth revealed. They may be powerless to change the past, but compassion and togetherness can help this tight-knit community move on.
He's forever in our hearts, everybody in the community, you know. Gorgeous little boy, and he's forever going to be playing here in these fields.
Empty today for the Easter holidays, Tondy Primary School remains a place filled with happy memories of a boy said to love learning. In a tribute to their former pupil, some of Logan's teachers said it was his smile that lit up their classroom. They said he used to come out here with his friends to play hide and seek and to pretend to be his favourite superhero, Spider-Man. They said he was an absolute pleasure to teach, and that even now, 8 months on, they're still coming to terms with his death. Nearby, a memorial garden for Logan has been busy today with visitors paying their respects. Those struggling to fathom what happened have been coming here for support.
We decided to build this garden because we found that many people didn't have a particular area they could go to say their goodbyes.
When people are coming to you for support, what kind of things are they saying to you about their experience?
How devastating it is that people could do that to a child. It's kind of like mostly shock people are feeling. It's like unbelievable that someone can do that to such a little boy.
Forever in our hearts, Logan.
Back in Sarn, there are plans for a bench here in Logan's honour. The painful memories of the last 8 months will be hard to remove. What will remain is a community's love for this happy and brave boy.
Hamish Alskery reporting there. And a social services investigation by the Cwmtawd Morgannwg Safeguarding Board is now underway. It will establish whether anything could have been done to save him and whether improvements to safeguarding practices are needed in Wales. Earlier I spoke to Helen Westerman from the children's charity, the NSPCC, who welcomed the review and began by asking how these types of investigations work.
We would expect a child safeguarding practice review to shed further light into the circumstances of Logan's death and the role of local safeguarding agencies. And the review should really identify any learnings that can be taken from this really tragic case.
And one of the things, of course, that was in play here was that it all took place with the backdrop of the pandemic, and it inevitably made children far less accessible to agencies and to schools. Will that be a factor in this inquiry?
Well, yes, and we can't blame the pandemic for this. Logan died at the hands of the very people that should have been loving and caring for him. However, we do know that it was really challenging for frontline staff trying to meet with families, meet with vulnerable children. And we saw a 20% increase in the numbers of referrals that we made to agencies in Wales in 2020, 2021, an increase from the previous year prior to the pandemic.
And what will the timescale be on the investigation? What can we expect? Because it can take as long as 6 months, can't it, for these types of reviews to happen?
Indeed, and they do need to be thorough, so it's very difficult to predict that. They just need to leave no stone unturned and to really identify what factors influenced and really led to the death of Logan.
And for people who may not know how this kind of inquiry works, what sort of independence is brought to it? Because, as you said, lots of agencies will be getting together to talk about how the process was and what happened leading up to the tragic death of Logan. But how is that scrutinised?
Well, an independent chair will be appointed to then take a series of interviews with all agencies that were involved in Logan and Logan's family's lives. So that will take them some time to do that investigation, to talk to individuals, those agencies, and then to pull that report together with clear recommendations to try and ensure that this sort of case doesn't happen again.
And unfortunately, I've been in the situation where I've reported on these types of reviews before. At the end of it, it's hoped that lessons are learnt from the review. Are you hopeful that from what you've seen in the past that lessons do get learnt?
I think so, and I understand the frustrations from the public, where we've seen some very high-profile cases recently where members of the public have come forward and raised concerns about a child, and unfortunately those children weren't saved. But it's still really important that we ensure that safeguarding is everybody's responsibility, that if anyone has concerns about a child, that they act on those concerns and they contact either Children's Services, the police or the NSPCC.
Helen Westerman from the NSPCC, thank you very much.
Thank you.
To other news now this evening, and a 30-year-old man and a mother have appeared in court in connection with the alleged murder of her daughter. 2-year-old Lola James from Haverfordwest died in hospital in July 2020, 4 days after she suffered a head injury at her home. Carl Bevan from Aberystwyth is charged with Lola's murder. Lola's mother, 29-year-old Sinead James from Neyland, is charged with causing the death or allowing the death of a child. Both appeared in court earlier today and they were remanded in custody. They are due to appear at Swansea Crown Court on Monday. 2 people have died and another 3 are in hospital in a serious condition after a crash in Bagalt in Flintshire. North Wales Police attended the single vehicle crash on the A548 in the early hours of this morning after reports a vehicle had crashed into a gym. They are now appealing for any witnesses to come forward. 2 Ospreys rugby players will be required to undertake voluntary work after a video emerged of them mocking a sleeping homeless person. Matthew Aubrey and Callum Carson are seen approaching the person in Cardiff in the video, with Carson putting his arm around him. Both have apologised for their actions and will now volunteer with the Woolwich, a Welsh charity that supports people who are homeless. People living in Merthyr Tydfil are protesting against a new water treatment works in the Brecon Beacons. If approved, there are fears the plans will see precious green land lost. But with the current treatment works coming to the end of their operational lives, Welsh Water says a new facility is essential. Our Rural Affairs correspondent Hannah Thomas has been looking at both sides of that debate.
Livestock, lush pasture and lovely scenery. It's what Malcolm Blandford and his neighbour Angela have enjoyed from their homes for decades. But Welsh Water plans to construct a new water treatment plant in front of their houses here, creating what residents say will be an industrial eyesore.
Welsh Water say they can't upgrade the current sites they've got and people need fresh drinking water in the future.
Correct. They've looked at 6 or 7 sites, some of which are brownfield sites. There may be additional cost on some of those sites, but you have to take into the thinking the cost of losing the countryside forever and a day.
Protect Ponsan! Protect Ponsan! The proposals have seen significant local opposition, with a demonstration against the project. Campaigners say they want to protect Ponsan.
During the lockdown period, this saved so many people's sanity that they were able to come out into this green area. And no, we can't let them build on this. It is really precious.
Merthyr is trying to reinvent itself as a kind of tourist destination, a green destination. It's trending in the top 10 Easter breaks for Airbnbs at the moment.
Thousands of people walk up and down these lanes. They picnic at the Blue Pool. They walk up to Mauler's Castle. It's a site of natural beauty.
Well, it's a little bit windy up here, but these are the remains of Mauler's Castle. It was built in the 13th century and it's still one of the most historic landscapes in Merthyr Tydfil today. There are 360-degree views from here, and pretty much for the last 8 centuries. The views down there have been green fields, but for how much longer?
Martin Hennessy is from Dŵr Cymru Welsh Water. He says they looked at 12 sites as part of this scheme, but the only one suitable to meet the needs of 700,000 customers was Ponsan.
Normally we would look to extend our existing works, but as you see here and across the other 2 works, that just wasn't an option to us. And just to complicate things more, we have to keep our existing water treatment works running while we build the new works. None of the 3 sites has any space next to it to enable us to build a new works alongside it. They bound onto the national parks and they're in tagged valleys.
Ponsan was actually painted by the Welsh artist Penry Williams in 1800. It's been celebrated by generations of Merthyr Tydfil people. But there's now anger that under Welsh Water's timetable, the green belt here would be replaced with buildings by 2030. Hannah Thomas, ITV News.
Well, let's look to sport now. Wales face a tough battle this evening as they play host to France in the 4th round of the Six Nations tournament. After a heavy defeat to England, Wales will be looking to hit back as they take on the 3rd best team in the world. There's just a few hours until kick-off and Beth is at Cardiff Arms Park for us tonight. This is quite a tough challenge, isn't it?
Well, yes, Andrea, France are currently unbeaten in the Women's Six Nations this season, and I'm really pleased to say I've got 2 players who know all about playing France, former Wales captain Philippa Dutier and current Wales squad member Georgia Evans. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Firstly, Georgia, heavy defeat to England a couple of weeks ago, but Wales, how do you feel about tonight?
I think we're really excited to get back out here, to be honest. It's all about how we react from that England win. We know that, it was a heavy defeat, but there's lots of learnings that we can take from that and we can put them into practice today. So, yeah, I think we're all really buzzing to get back out here.
And Philippa, France, they're 3rd in the world, England were 1st in the world. How good are this team and what challenge do they really kind of put towards Wales tonight?
Well, this is going to be the 2nd hardest fixture for Wales this year. The France are a brilliant team, a little bit like the men, all goes through number 9. Look out for Lawson Seuss tonight, number 9, she's brilliant. So it's going to be a real challenge for them. And when you consider the last 2 times Wales played them, France put over 50 points on them and kept them to a 0. So a real challenge, but like you say, learnings from last round against England, real opportunities to show what they've learned.
And Georgia, you broke your arm 8 weeks ago. How tough is it watching the team play, especially at home?
It's heartbreaking. It's absolutely gutting not to be out here, but to see them thrive so much and how well they've gone this campaign, been absolutely outstanding to watch. So yeah.
And let's talk about that because they're 3rd in the table with 10 points, and that's really impressive. They beat Ireland and Scotland already. And Philippa, this team may have lost to England, in a heavy defeat, but they're taking strides forward as well.
They absolutely are. And when you consider they're going for their 3rd win tonight, that's the first time since 2009. So going way back to when I played. So this really is, in regards to their journey from where where they came, last in the Six Nations last year, thinking that they could be going for a third is absolutely brilliant.
And Georgia, you know, you've got insight to how the squad are feeling. How are they looking forward to being back at home? Because last time they played here against Scotland, it was a record crowd as well.
Yeah, absolutely amazing to be back home, to be in front of home, friends, family and all the young kids that come out and watch. It's just amazing to have that 16th player with us, and they're really, really excited to be out here.
I should say it is like 8 p.m. kickoff, so it is a bit empty tonight, but already we've got the musicians warming up. And Philippa, it's quite the occasion, isn't it? And how pleased are you seeing the growth of international women's rugby in Wales going like it is?
It's absolutely brilliant. You talk from a player's perspective, you talk about leaving the jersey in a better place when you move on, but it's not just about leaving the quality of rugby on the field in a better place, it's everything around it. And I'm telling you, I've played in front of crowds where I think it was just my parents and a dog. So to see the fact that we're going to have a stadium full, there's a beer tent out the back, there's music, there's interaction for the family and friends, it's a whole event, which is exactly what it should be.
And we've got the Principality Stadium over there, but George, you were saying that actually the girls love playing here as well because they can go and see fans and family afterwards.
Yeah, it's just absolutely amazing to be able to actually interact after a game, to be able to go and connect with those people that, you know, message and just show so much enthusiasm for us. So it's really, really lovely to be home.
Well, amazing. Thank you so much, both of you. It's going to be an exciting match. Andrea, France against Wales under the lights on a Friday night. It doesn't get much better than that.
Can't wait, and good luck. Thank you to Beth, Philippa and Georgia this evening. Thank you. Still to come on the programme, we've all got our coats back on. What's happening with the weekend weather, Ruth?
Can you believe we're talking about weekend weather already? Having that bank holiday Monday's made it a very quick week, hasn't it? But yes, as Andrea says, the weekend is, well, all but upon us. How's the weather shaping up? Well, the answer to that is actually not too badly at all. I'll see you soon.
And join us in the best art gallery in Wales you've possibly never heard of. And yes, there is a piano in the middle of a lake. And nope, if you're from the Society of Prevention of Cruelty to Pianos, please don't email me. We know. Okay, we know.
Ruth and Rob both there, still to come. Now though, there is no denying it's one of the best sights in spring. Welsh woodlands carpeted in bluebells. But now we're being warned that bluebells' blooms could be in danger of becoming increasingly rare. The Woodland Trust is urging people to take care when enjoying the precious plants. Dean Thomas Welch has been to Margam Park and can tell us more.
I'll just take a look at this beautiful bluebell woodland in the ancient woodlands here in Margam. Now, I know what you're thinking. What you want to do is get yourself in the middle of those bluebells and take that wonderful picture for social media with your kids or maybe your dogs as well. But please, please do not do that. And to tell us why is Sophie Thomas from the Woodland Trust. Sophie, how important are these wonderful bluebell fields?
Oh, well, they're hugely important, Dean, and of course it does, I mean, just look at it, it brings hundreds, if not thousands of people to bluebell woods across Wales, and you can see why it's a real feast for the senses, isn't it? And what we are seeing, particularly since the pandemic, is that a lot more people are coming into the green spaces, enjoying them for what they are. And from a Woodland Trust point of view, that's absolutely fantastic. It's something that we've always championed in getting people into our woods and offering free access from our woods as well. But on the other hand, it does obviously bring a challenge for us, for our teams on the ground, whereby they are in charge of protecting and maintaining and restoring these beautiful habitats. But what we are starting to see is, like you say, a lot of new desire lines going through the woodland and new areas, large areas of bare ground really, which is a real shame to see, because all it means is that the habitat has been damaged somewhat and now the ground flora are struggling to come up.
And if we don't protect them, we're going to lose them.
We are indeed, yes. The bluebells specifically are an ancient wood indicator, and if you are in an ancient wood, you're in a very, very special place indeed, because ancient woods are really the crown jewels of biodiversity, of course, and one of our most complex and important terrestrial habitats. And there's precious little of them left, I'm afraid. Just over 4% actually of the Wales landmass is ancient woodland. And like you say, once they're gone, they are gone, so they desperately need protecting.
But you can take a picture, just don't leave any footprints.
Correct.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, look, Sophie, thank you very much for your time. Well, look, you heard it there. Come and enjoy the bluebell fields, but please, watch from a distance.
Dean Thomas Welch there on protecting the ancient woodlands of Wales. Next tonight, it's possibly the most colourful art gallery in Wales, but it's one that you may not have heard of. Plas Bodfa is a manor house in Anglesey which has stood for 100 years. Now unoccupied, its 35 rooms have been transformed by painters, potters and sculptors to create a unique and temporary gallery. We sent Rob Shelley along armed with only a postcode and a sense of wonder.
From a quick glance at the outside, you might think Plas Bodfa's a really nice country house with one of the best views in Wales. Then you stroll down by the pond and see the piano, which means they either have really good parties here or something slightly strange is happening. But if you fancy playing Rachmaninoff's second, fill your waders. I do have to congratulate you on having the most surreal manor house in the whole of Wales, possibly.
Hooray, thank you.
It's quite hard to describe this. I mean, put it this way, they would be pushed in through the keyhole, but basically it's like Salvador Dali's imagination exploded and what happened afterwards all landed in the middle of a house on the outskirts of Byrne.
It is an immersive experience, so when you walk around this place, triggers in your own past and other things that you've seen in other places are supposed to come alive in your head and carry yourself and those ideas through.
And one room has a 5-year-old curator. Fionne's a soundscape consultant, when she's not colouring in anyway. So you hide the speaker in one of these boxes.
Sometimes it's that one, sometimes Nesta puts it in here.
So walk down a corridor, stick your head round the corner, and you'll find an indoor garden. And then downstairs there's also a desert. But if you've got 35 rooms, there is space for a desert. I mean, they've even got poetry written on the windows. We should have more poetry written on the windows. For one thing, it keeps the flies entertained. There are echoes of this house and its various lives. It's been a family home, a steakhouse, a retirement home, all over what's now a temporary gallery. And before we go any further, we really do want to assure anyone musical that this piano couldn't even play chopsticks before it got all aquatic. It's not the only artwork in the wettest gallery in Wales. Pond art! Wow!
I suppose you could call it pond art.
What's
yes.
it like putting pond art out there?
It's challenging and intriguing. So yes, it did involve a certain amount of going into the water.
Yeah, so you're good at paddling, basically.
Paddling and a bit of swimming. It's quite deep in the middle.
But maybe this is the ultimate canvas, one large and very nice manor house, an artwork surrounded by some of the best landscapes drawn by Wales. But please, whatever else you do, be kind to your piano. Rob Shelley, ITV News, near Byrne.
Weird, but most definitely wonderful. That's the gallery, not Rob Shelley, by the way. Coming up in about 8 minutes' time, it's the ITV Evening News, and here is Charlene White.
Missed opportunities to save the 7-year-old boy who died alone. Today, Hakeem Hussein's mother was convicted of his manslaughter. She'd used his inhaler to take drugs as he gasped for air. More of Boris Johnson's own MPs break rank and call on him to resign. In the Madeleine McCann case, an official suspect's been declared, but is it really a breakthrough? And why the cost of your fish supper is going up. Join us for those stories and more from 6:30.
Now, Ruth, I know you've got something other than the weather in a minute, but you've got to tell me why it's gone from hot to cold and maybe hopefully hot again.
I can tell you, it's just because it's just the weather.
Okay.
It's that time of the year.
Nothing too scientific.
The thing is, it could be an awful lot worse, couldn't it? Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. If you are making plans for the weekend, which is just around the corner over the next few days, west is going to be best for sunshine. Now, if you're headed to the coast, you'll be pleased to know that you are in safe hands, even if you don't necessarily realise it. For 200 years, the Coast Guard has been saving lives, and I've been to join them on a training exercise in Milford Haven as they gear up for a busy few months ahead.
For 200 years, the Coast Guard has been helping rescue and keep people safe along our coast.
I've come to their headquarters in Milford Haven to get more of an insight into their vital role.
Right, all in all, can I have everyone's attention for the morning brief?
There are a number of control rooms around the country, but here in Milford Haven, operations are overseen by Commander Nicola Davis.
Nicola, tell me a little bit about the role of the Coast Guard and what you actually do.
So HM Coast Guard coordinates incidents that are at the coast or out at sea for the whole of the UK.
HM Coast Guard was established in January 1822. It was originally set up to help combat smuggling, but is now dedicated to saving lives.
So the RNLI is one of our resources, along with the Coast Guard helicopter, along with our Coast Guard rescue volunteers. We are very busy. In the winter time, it tends to get a little quieter, but we are still a busy station. We deal with lots of incidents during the winter time. But in the summertime, that is when it is constant. The school holidays, the Easter holidays, people are constantly either getting into trouble or need some sort of help. However, you know, the safety messages that are going along with that are really getting out there. Our staff are trying to educate people, our volunteers are trying to educate people, just so they can call for help if they do get into trouble.
A few miles away on the cliffs near Lidstep near Tenby, I'm meeting a team taking part in an exercise.
What I hadn't realised is that I'm going to be rescued, which means I have to go over that cliff.
But before I put myself through that, a quick chat with the man in charge, Area Commander Richard Furno.
So here in obviously the team today, we've got teams from St Govan's and Tenby. They're two cliff teams based in Pembrokeshire. And obviously one of our main roles is obviously search and rescue and you know, reporting to 999 calls. So obviously myself and my colleague Mark are full-time staff, but all the rest of the guys and girls here today are volunteers, available 24/7, 7 days a week.
And this is where all the training comes in, so they're ready to go at a moment's notice.
With your feet, push up with your feet. Try and keep your feet square on the...
Great. Oh my God. Oh, I just looked down. That was a big mistake.
I think he's coming back to rescue me. It's a long way down.
Get me up! Oh my God. That and so much more on Coast and Country, 7 o'clock here on ITV Cymru Wales. You know how much I love heights, don't you?
Boy, you were in safe hands, but very brave, very brave.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Never again. So let's talk about the weather. It's been grey and it's been cloudy today. We've had cows sitting down in Anglesey, a sure sign that there is rain on the way. Just knows what old wives' tale, that doesn't actually mean anything. Possibly that the cows just like a little bit of dry grass underneath them. Anyway, let's stop talking about cows. Let's talk about the weather for the next few days. Here we go in a little more detail.
Transport for Wales. Proud sponsors of ITV Cymru Wales Weather.
So the bigger picture tells the weekend weather story quite nicely. High pressure at the moment is parked right across much of the UK, but down towards the south of us, out in the Bay of Biscay, is this swirling mess of low pressure. That's not good, because actually as we head through into the weekend, it will skirt its way across the south of the UK, clipping into parts of South Wales, effectively bringing cloudier conditions and some showers too, which could be on the sharp side, certainly for Saturday, something a little calmer for Sunday, and then, well, we'll worry about next week when we get to next week, but I think a return to something slightly more unsettled for the start of the week. In the meantime then, not too bad at all out there at the moment. As with today, that north-south divide continues, so clear skies remaining towards the north, but we could see cloudier conditions for a time as well, possibly turning a little bit murky in places, and by the very early hours of Saturday morning, the cloud in some areas further inland could be thick enough for a little bit of drizzle. Temperature-wise, well, actually it was chilly last night. We had a little bit of grass frost. Tonight I think should be frost-free. We've got the combination of cloudier skies. A breeze will continue, so we're looking at lows of around 6 or 7. Frost-free maybe, but still quite a chill in the air by the time most of us wake to Saturday morning. Not a bad start to the day, but as you can see, mixed fortunes. There will be blue sky and sunshine, the best of it out towards western fringes, I think. Further inland, cloudier conditions, and we could see some sharp showers developing, possibly some rumbles of thunder. Very exciting stuff. Temperatures then, not surprisingly, slightly down on recent values. Highs of 15, possibly squeezing a 16 if you're lucky enough. With level 4 on the UV index, that's moderate, so enjoy the sunshine safely. As far as your outlook is concerned, it's not too bad, neither here nor there, turning fresher with showers in the forecast into start of next week.
Trafnidiaeth Cymru yn falch I noddi tywyd ITV Cymru Wales.
I think your disappointment at the fact that cows lying down doesn't necessarily mean it's going to rain. It's kind of the best thing I've heard all week.
I only told my 3-year-old that the other day.
Oh, what a web when we tell these lies, you
Let's
know.
pass on those myths to the next generation. And that is it. I'll be back with you later for the news at 10. From all of us here on Wales at 6, goodbye.